Hi, everyone. Welcome from Sacrochet Vineyard in Napa Valley. We are in Rutherford, California, 750 feet above the valley floor on this really gorgeous day. I'm so glad that you all joined. Today, we're going to taste two very distinct and wonderful Cabernets. And we're going to be joined a little later by two very special guests. The Blackwells, Lisa and Brad Blackwell. So first, however, the topic of today is the art of winemaking. And who better to discuss that with than our brilliant and talented winemaker, Megan Gunderson.
Hello.
Hey,
How
Megan.
are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Good. That's super. So you are, I understand, you've been you're at the winery and you've been blending?
Yes, we just started blending the 2019 vintage of Napa Valley Cabernets today. So we tasted through 83 unique different lots of wine from Mount Veeder, Diamond Mountain, Howell Mountain, Bergfeld. We tasted Bergfeld Estate, Sacrochet, where you're sitting now. So it was a very exciting day, and I'm just a little bit tired.
I got to say, but I hope everybody appreciates, I mean, even when you spit 83 glasses of 83 wines, that's a lot. I mean, you're still, well, you're not standing, but you're still sitting.
I'm peppy.
Yeah, this is really great. So yeah. I think the fact that you've been blending is just a wonderful backdrop for the topic of our conversation today, because we are talking about the art of winemaking. And I thought it would be just wonderful if you'd start off just talking about how do you approach winemaking? I mean, it is, what is your style? And is it like making a recipe for food? Is it have a vision for what it's going to end up with like? I mean, just share with everybody.
Sure.
What that's like.
Yep. So just like with cooking, you have to start with good ingredients. And so we start with the very highest end grapes. We're fortunate enough for the Hall program to source from 14 of the 16 sub-AVAs throughout Napa Valley. We create many different Cabernets, ranging from vineyard designate platinums down to the blended wines, one of which we're going to have today, the 2016 North End. And we approach it vineyard by vineyard, block by block. We have an amazing winemaking facility where we optically sort all of our fruit. We vinify it separately. We age it separately. And so what we end up with when we sit down to blend is, I think in this vintage, we have 190 unique components that you can think about like ingredients, and those will go together to create our distinctive, unique Cabernets. So it's really a lot of fun.
So how do you keep 190 different wines separate? How do you remember what you're tasting? I mean, you're not going to remember all 190,
well,
are you?
Keep in mind now that we've tasted these hundreds of times already, each lot. You know, we're walking the vineyards right before harvest, all throughout fermentation. We walk all of those fermentation tanks every day, and at the peak of harvest, it's up to 130 tanks a day that we're tasting, all through malolactic fermentation while the wine ages in barrel. So although 180, 190 components might seem like a lot, we have a history with these components. We have a history with these wines already, and I have an idea of where they're going to go. Is this going to go to Rainin or Sacrochet or Catherine Hall or Jack's? And it's really a fun, creative process. I love it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is an art. I mean, in fact, would you like to say something about the importance of science, because your background is science. I don't know that everybody knows that, but that's what your training was as a
biochemistry.
Biochemistry? Yeah.
Yeah, it was biochemistry. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I wanted you to talk about the importance of science in this. Yeah, and then also just sort of the importance of intuition, or what I think of as art.
Yeah, it's so, I was biochemistry major, pre-med. My parents were a little bit disappointed when I ditched that plan and moved to Napa Valley, but now they're the happiest people on the face of the planet. They are constantly supplied with wine and they love it. They love Hall wines. But you know, science really opened the door for me, having the strong chemistry background, being able to analyze those wines. I came up into winemaking through the lab. But it's really learning on the spot and learning these vineyard sites, and it's an apprenticeship, you know, working under different winemakers throughout the years and really learning a craft. It is an art, I mean, and it's a passion, and you really get the feel for the vineyards. It's an amazing process that combines both science and art. It's perfect. I love it.
You know, there are some winemakers who talk about using a formula.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to make a comment about that.
Never. We never make wines using a recipe. It's every vintage is unique. Every vineyard block is unique. I'm reacting to the vintage. The other winemakers on our team, our cellar staff, we ask them to do crazy things. You know, we're always researching. We're always pushing the envelope, always trying to strive to do better and make the best wines that we can. And so if you get into a recipe winemaking, I'm going to add this much, or I'm going to leave it on skins for this much time, you lose that creative element to it. And that's just not what we do here.
Yeah. You know, I love to tell the story about how we have art at the winery, and we even put art in where people are working in the cellar. People think art that nobody who comes and visits even sees. But I really do believe it's that get that creative juices going, you know, which is just so wonderful. So I want to remind everybody, as we're going along, send us questions. We are going to try to answer as many of the questions as we can over the course of the next half hour. And so just anything you want to ask of us, about the wines, about anything else, and also anything about our guests when you meet them a little bit later. But I'm thinking now let's try a little wine.
Drink some wine.
Yeah.
Can I pour for you?
You certainly can.
All right, here we go. Over the top. Woohoo!
Whoa.
2016
nice.
North End.
Hello.
That's amazing.
It's a miracle. I mean, we are getting so good at this. Yeah.
We are.
So I think you showed everybody the bottle. I mean, the bottle. And so this is our North End, right? And now tell us about where this comes from. And
yeah, so the North End is a blend that we created a few years ago, and it's vineyards coming from the North End of the Napa Valley. So at the city of St. Helena, the valley changes. It gets very narrow, so you don't get as much cooling influence from the San Pablo Bay coming up through the base of the valley, and it's much warmer. I think that the fruit from the north end of the valley is richer and more decadent. You get a lot of red fruit. It's a very supple, delicious wine. And that was what was intriguing to us, is we had several different components that had that quality. And we're like, well, they all come from the north end of the valley. Let's make this unique blend.
Well, what do you say we try it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you get that fruit? It's so fruitful. It's so effusive and lifted.
A lot of black. It's just black fruit. Just really, really lovely. And spices. Yep. And nice color too.
I get a lot of cassis and black cherry, blackberry. It's so intense. I'm loving this wine right now.
Yeah, I think the chocolate is really coming out for me right now a lot. I do. I love this.
Hopefully all of you tasting along with us are getting those same characteristics in the wine.
Yes, actually we've had a question about how do you decide how much oak you want, because this actually, I think you used a lot of oak on this. You had like 22 months, and it was 22 months, and a lot of it was new too. 65%
new French oak.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that's a lot of oak, but what we're looking for with our oak program, we work with different coopers, different barrel makers, And think of it as a spice rack. We're looking for barrels that will bring sweetness and length, but not overwhelm the fruit. And I think that this wine is so fruit forward that you don't get a whole lot of oak aroma on, on the aromas, but you get a sweetness and a lushness on the palate and a length, and that's definitely coming from those barrels.
A lot of times people will ask whether there's any sugar in our wines, because they have this lovely ripeness and sweetness in it, but it's really, that's a reflection of how beautiful the fruit is. None of our wines have any residual sugar. There's just
no. It's about getting balance. It's about stirring the barrels a lot when they're going through malolactic fermentation. And this is getting really dorky here, but it's manna protein development. That's what you feel on the palate. Those manna proteins, that's that plush quality to the wine. And I'm really getting that here. So,
this is so something that you would serve with something that's really savory, I think, like a steak, but the spiciness also makes me think you could do it with something Asian even,
or like a spicy pasta sauce, like a red, robust.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, okay, let me see if we have anybody else who's going to ask anything. Oh, yeah. Now this is actually, the question is, do the wines from the north end of the valley, like this one, they age longer?
It depends on the vineyard site, the vintage. I think the 2016 vintage was almost a perfect vintage for Napa Valley. We had ample rain. It was a really dreamy growing season. There was no pressure to pick. And I think this wine is beautifully balanced from day one. But you can feel on the finish that it has a bright acidity, and that's going to bring some age to this wine. So 2016 vintage, North End for me. There's structure, there's ageability in the wine. I think this could easily go another 10, 15 years.
Wow. So what do you think? You've been blending the 2019s today. How do you have a sense for how that's going to be compared to the 2016s, for example, or the 2017s?
I think in general, as I tasted through those 83 components today, I was really reminded of 2016. There's a plushness and a fruitfulness to all the wines across the board. There's good tannin. I think they're going to be really approachable upon release, but there's a lot of ageability, especially in the mountain appellations, which is what we focused on today. Diamond, Howell, Vider, Sacrochet, they're exquisite.
You talk about how the ageability of wine, and I think this is a question that is often asked of me, and that is, what about, do we need to lay a wine down before we drink it? Do we have to wait for it to be good? And our philosophy on that, and Megan, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that a wine that is great at the very beginning. It just, it changes, it ages, it develops different complexities, and it becomes more interesting. But a really great wine is a great wine, and from the get-go.
Exactly. It's all about balance. It's, you want fruit, you want texture, you want length on the palate, you want a beautiful freshness and vibrancy. But if you don't have that from the beginning, you're never going to get it. If the acid is out of balance or the tannin is out of balance, it'll soften with time, but it's never going to be a great wine. So we're always just focused on, how does this wine taste today, making the best wine for today, and it's going to age very well and show beautifully, 20, 30 years from now.
I just thought I want to say something. We actually had a question that related to the art on the bottle. And so I would just, this is how the bottle looks. I think a lot of you who are tuned in now have seen this bottle and know this wine, but it is, I was sort of putting it in the wrong place, but I think you can see it. Anyway, this is a piece of art that we have down at the St. Helena facility, and it is, oh, I can't remember the name of the artist, but anyway, but he is wonderful. I was there actually when he was installing it, and it's just thousands and thousands and thousands of these little bitty piece of papers,
Index
like
cards.
yeah,
Yep.
little cards, and it's like incredible. When he said he never could have done this without use of a computer, because the colors are they're graded, and they're just that, you know, it looks nice on the bottle, but it looks just fabulous, I think.
It's one of my favorite pieces of art. I love it. And just that it's such a dramatic, you know, feature right as you walk into the tasting room.
It's true. You know, I think we always have this sort of an issue. We don't want to like be telling people no when they're coming to visit, but we really hope that we don't want them to touch the art, you know, I mean, but this piece in particular, more than any other piece of the winery, is the one that people just really want to touch it, you know, because
they can't believe, you know, that it's index cards.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, okay, so now I'm thinking that it's time we'll bring on our wonderful guests. So the folks that are going to join us now are Lisa and Brad Blackwell from Danville, California. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
We magically appeared.
I love this pop in, pop out thing on your.
Yeah, it's a miracle. So anyway, I want everybody to know. So the Bradwells are partners in the winery. They are longtime friends of Craig's and mine, and it's just so wonderful that you guys would agree to be on this with us. We just you know us and you know our wines so well. So what fun! Thanks and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So what's going on in Danville? And let me maybe make it more specific. I'll start with Lisa. Both of you have just so many interesting things going on. But Lisa, you are the vice mayor of the town there, and these difficult times. And how is the community dealing with with COVID? And
you know, I think we're doing really well. It's been obviously very difficult to change our lives in the last 5 weeks, but the town has gone along with the county and the Bay Area, which shut things down really early. We haven't seen any kind of surge in the hospitals like they were worried about. So that's been I just think, saving grace. And in the town, we just communicate. Every day we send something out, and people, when they know the rules, will follow the rules. So we have been really, I think, really good at communication. So that's been our strength to keep people inside. And for the most part, everybody's doing it. So
yeah.
Good.
And so how are you meeting? You having these
well, we had our first town council meeting over Zoom, and it was a public meeting. And so we did get a couple Zoom bombs. We muted
Zoom bombs.
So that was different, and it's very scripted. It's very different than having interaction with the public. So our next meeting, we're going to ask for public comment in advance.
In writing.
In writing.
Right. Oh, that's good.
Well, yeah. But other than that, it went really well. And we get out the information. We had a lot more people watching and attending our meetings than we normally do. And so we were able to get out the information that way. So we did a nice long report about all the details of what's going on. So that was good.
And Brad, you have spent a career in in banking and financial related matters, and recently retired, although I don't think you're really so retired. It's just sort of in name only and really, really active. What's going on? And do you have any advice for us about this economy? God.
My focus has been housing, and of course the biggest problem that the country's had is affordable housing. But right now it's just the broader economy obviously has been shut down completely. So it's a bit unprecedented, and people will ask when do they think it's coming back, and I think it's anybody's guess. It all depends on when we start things back up again, and the virus is going to tell us that. We're not. But it's been an interesting time, and we'll keep working on what we need to do to find housing for people that don't have it.
Right. It really is hitting everybody adversely, but not everybody equally adversely,
Right.
huh?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We're all feeling fortunate to be sheltering at home and drinking all wine, which, by the way, we've been somehow drinking a lot more of it lately.
Yes. We're
That's
denying
the reason you asked us, is you found out how much whole wine we've been drinking. It's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Can we pour you some?
Oh,
Please,
yes.
let's have
Diamond
it.
Mountain?
Yeah.
All right, you ready up top?
All
All
right.
right.
Oh,
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. And I'll take some too.
Catherine needs some.
Yeah.
Oh, Catherine,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yay.
Oh,
I'm ready. I'm ready.
We can't forget Catherine Hall.
Got it.
You were too eager.
Okay. So this is our 2000, there you go, the 2017 Diamond Mountain Cab. And actually that piece of art, we were talking about the art, that piece of art is in my living room, which I love. So anyway, yeah. So Megan, will you talk to us about this wonderful wine?
So producing a Diamond Mountain AVA wine since 2005. And for me, it's always very dark and brooding and chocolatey, and it's got coffee and it's rich and powerful on the palate. Diamond Mountain is a warmer AVA. It's in the Mayacamas mountain range on the northern side of the valley. It gets very hot. The soils are really limiting, but it cools down quickly at night. So you get this powerful dark fruit. It's intense. I have always loved this wine.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Oh, it's the mountain wines are my favorite. Diamond Mountain is spectacular. It just, I don't know, it just explodes on your tongue. This is one, this is one that is actually calling for a really nice, big, juicy steak to me.
Yeah. I say, what are we having for dinner tonight?
Steak is on the menu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Megan, what is it about the mountain vineyards that is unique? And
I think it's a combination. It's soil type. So in most of the mountain AVAs, you have very light limiting soils. You've got the volcanic tuff, the decomposed ash there in Sacre. You've got volcanic soils on Diamond Mountain. You've got loamy soils in different mountain AVAs, but the common thread is that the soils are well drained. They're limiting, so the vines really struggle, and you get really small clusters usually of Cabernet, and it through the fermentation process that produces really big and powerful wines with a lot of ageability.
2017.
Megan,
question?
are we making a mistake by drinking the 2017 now? Because I have a hard time laying these down for too long, and I know that some of them should be laid down a little longer.
Well, see, what you do is you buy a case,
Well, we do.
and then you have a couple bottles, you know, the first few months, and then you have one 6 months later. But Catherine and I spoke about this before. My goal is to make wines that are balanced and beautiful from the beginning, and that will be balanced and beautiful in 20 years. So if you drink them young, you're going to get more fruit expression. It's going to be a little bit more effusive. And as they age, you'll lose a little bit of the fruit, but you'll go into more earthy, leather, cocoa. It's just going to change and soften a little bit over time, but it's still going to be just as beautiful as it is right now.
So when you were saying that this is in a sort of a warmer area, it's mountain fruit, but it's in a warmer area. But just sort of in general, when a wine, it comes from a mountainside, from a warmer climate, are there certain qualities that you can expect to find in the wine? Like I'm thinking things like chocolate flavors.
Yeah, on Diamond Mountain in particular, it's the soil and then the intense heat during the day. So you get a lot of powerful fruit. You get earthiness coming in, I think, from that terroir, that soil. And then because it cools down rapidly at night, you get a really nice preservation of acidity. So you'll feel that acidity on the palate. And those for me are characteristics of Diamond Mountain. So really powerful fruit character because it's warmer.
So This also comes from the Rainin Vineyard, largely, right? And which is a vineyard. We make one wine that is only from Rainin, and
Yes.
that has been a very beautiful wine. And I know we've had 2 100-point wines off of that particular vineyard. So it's pretty fabulous, and the fruit in this as well is beautiful.
Yeah, this blend is actually 65% from the Rainin Vineyard, a mix of, well, at the Rainin property, there are 7 unique blocks, and this are, 5 of the different blocks went into this blend. Block 6 went into the Rainin Platinum wine, and then the balance of the blocks went to our Diamond Mountain, and then we have 2 other partner vineyards on Diamond Mountain that round out this blend.
Lisa and Brad, I know you do a lot of wine tastings with your friends and share a lot of your wonderful wine with them. But I mean, like, what kind of things do people ask you about wines? Do they ask you about like ageability? I mean, what is sort of?
Yeah, they do ask us about wine. I will tell you that mostly we just repeat what Megan tells us, and but a lot of our friends have over the years drank quite a bit of Hall wine, so they're becoming familiar with them, and hopefully buying some themselves so that we can drink it when we go to their house. But it's been what they want to know is what's the difference between the different, there's so many varieties of Cabernets that Hall makes. They're all spectacular. And people just are usually curious about what's the difference and when should I drink one versus the other.
Yeah.
To answer that question, the differences in the wines are obviously the growing regions. We want to showcase those unique sub-appellations, those different unique areas. We want to make Cabernets that are representative of where they're grown. And we want to make wines that are ageable, unique. And so I hope you're finding that when you taste through all the different Cabernets that you're enjoying these days.
Yeah, we definitely have learned the difference between them, and but it is hard to pick a favorite. Although I will say that between Howell Mountain, Excellence, Catherine Hall, and Diamond Mountain, those big, bold, intense cabs are my favorites.
Those are your favorites?
Definitely his. I'm more of a Pinot person, so I drink a lot of the Walt. Just because I'm not a big steak person, so I like the Walt. But back in the day when we used to travel, we bought one of the Hall wine suitcases, and Hall has gone everywhere around the world with us as we go because we don't want to drink any old wine. So we just take Hall with us everywhere in our Hall wine suitcase. So
I love it.
Amazing.
Well, listen, you guys, you are so wonderful to come on and to join us. And I just thank you. You are
cheers to you.
Personal friends and wonderful friends.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
See you later.
Soon.
Bye-bye.
It's great. Thanks. So Megan, we are sort of coming to close to the end of what we say. Now if anybody has any more questions, this is the time, because we're going to run out of time here, but we'd love to. I have to say, every time I hear Megan talk, I learn, and today is no exception. It's really,
thank you.
really wonderful.
It goes so fast. It feels like 5 minutes,
It really, really, really does. Hey, will you say something about just the 2017 vintage? Because this is a 2017, and that was the fire, and most people think about the fire. Was there a taint on the wines? I think it would be interesting to talk about that.
Yeah, so fortunately, the 2017 vintage, the growing season, was exceptional up until the night of October 8th, which is when the fire started. I actually looked back at the harvest date for the Diamond Mountain, which was, most of it was harvested immediately after those fires broke out. Don and Dominic, our vineyard crew, our team, director of vineyards and manager of grower relations, they were exceptional. They were able to get to these sites to safely have the fruit harvested before it was compromised by the smoke that was in the air in the valley for several days after the fire. In general, 2017, I'm thrilled of the quality of that vintage. We have less of it. We don't have a Terra Seca. We don't have a Mount Veeder because those were areas that were too affected by the fire. It's a limited quantity vintage for us because there were vineyards that couldn't be included in the blends, but we did honor all of our contracts. With yours and Craig's support, we harvested all of the fruit, whether it was going to be made into wine or not. So our growers were supported. And it was just an amazing time. We have an amazing team, and we really came together and created some beautiful wines.
We really do. We have an amazing team, and we have an amazing set of vineyard owners.
We do.
Life is long, and
yes,
I'm really glad that we were able to do that. So one last question, and I just want to know what you are looking forward to most when this shelter in place is over.
Going out to dinner. Can't tell you how tired I am of cooking and loading the dishwasher and unloading the dishwasher. And but I am grateful to have the extra time at home with my children. I am grateful that my family is safe. It could be so much worse than it is. And but I am looking forward to eating out. Yes, please, at my favorite restaurant. How about you?
Yeah, me too. I think probably most. I'm looking forward to just seeing the rest of my family. I get to see Craig, which has been incredibly wonderful. But I miss everybody else. You know, there's one thing, and we do a lot of Zoom, but there's no substitute for that hug. You know?
No, there isn't.
I miss giving it and getting it both ways.
Hopefully soon we'll be back to normal.
Yes, that's hopefully. So everyone, it is just been great, and Megan and I have loved having you on with us today. It's just been really super. Thank you so much to Brad and Lisa. You guys are always wonderful, and it was wonderful to be able to see you here. Remember that all of these wines, all of our wines, including the ones that we have today, you can buy online from us. Our hospitality operation is closed, but our production and our shipping department is very open for business.
We're still making wine.
We're still making wine. We still want to sell the wine.
Yeah.
So you can get the wine from us. You can, we're doing some really fun bespoke tastings online that are just getting more and more popular. And you can find more about that online. But basically what we do is that we will craft a tasting for you or your friends, and you can join personally. You can bring us on Zoom with a group of your friends, and we can walk you through a bunch of bottles. We can curate it for you, or you can tell us which ones you want us to talk about. So get the wines from us, $1 shipping for three bottles. We can't ship it to you free, so we can ship it to you for $1. And this tastings, and until we meet again, we just wish you good health and enjoy your wine and be safe. Thank you, everybody, so much. And
cheers.
cheers.
It's good to see you, Catherine.
Great to see you, Megan.